The workshop smelled like sawdust and broken dreams at 3 in the morning. I sat hunched over my workbench, pretending to sand a piece of oak while my mind churned over Lynne's latest late open house. My wife had perfected the art of lying so well, she probably believed her own bullshit by now. The house creaked above me. Our Victorian had character. The realtor had said 20 years ago. Character meant every footstep announced itself, every door complained when opened. Tonight, the silence felt different. Heavier. That's when I saw it. Lynne's phone, forgotten on the kitchen counter like a loaded gun. I'm not proud of what I did next, but desperation makes philosophers of us all. The screen lit up with a text notification. Can't wait to see you tonight. Bring the blue dress? The blue dress. She'd bought it last month, claimed it was for client meetings. Professional, she'd said. I remembered thinking she looked stunning in it, but when I'd suggested dinner out so she could wear it, she'd laughed. It's not really your style, David. Apparently, it was Brent Mallory's style. I scrolled through their messages, each one a small knife twist. Photos I'd never seen her take. Plans for weekends when she'd claimed to be at conferences. Explicit details about what they'd done in hotel rooms while I'd been home watching Netflix and wondering why my wife had grown so distant. Can't wait to taste you again, from 3 days ago. Your husband suspects nothing, right? From last week. He's too stupid to figure it out, her response. Too stupid. 23 years of marriage, and I was too stupid to figure it out. The front door opened upstairs. Lynne's heels clicked across the hardwood, that familiar rhythm I'd once found comforting. Now it sounded like a countdown to detonation. David? Are you down there? I closed the phone, set it carefully on the workbench. Yeah, just finishing up. She appeared at the top of the basement stairs, still in her business suit. Still beautiful at 38, still the woman I'd fallen in love with in college. But now I saw the performance in her smile, the calculation behind her eyes. You're up late, she said, descending slowly. Everything okay? Couldn't sleep. I held up the piece of oak. Thought I'd get some work done. She nodded, but her gaze found her phone on my workbench. A flicker of panic crossed her features before the mask slipped back into place. Forget something? I asked, my voice steady as a carpenter's level. Oh, thank God, I was looking everywhere for that. She reached for it, but I picked it up first. Must be important, all those notifications. I handed it to her, watching her face. Hope it wasn't an emergency. Just work stuff? She clutched the phone against her chest. You know how it is. Yeah, I said. I know exactly how it is. Something in my tone made her step back. We stared at each other across the workshop, 23 years of marriage hanging in the sawdust-thick air between us. I'm going to bed, she said finally. Good idea. Big day tomorrow. She paused at the stairs. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, Lynne. Just that every day's a big day in real estate, right? After she left, I sat in my workshop until dawn, planning. By the time the sun crested the horizon, I'd made my decision. I was done playing the fool. Time to build something new, starting with her ruin. I changed the locks at 7 a.m. before Lynne woke up. 23 years of marriage, and it took 15 minutes to lock her out of my life. I moved her things to the guest room while she showered, each item a small act of rebellion. When she came downstairs in her bathrobe, coffee mug in hand, she found me sitting at the kitchen table with a fresh cup and a stack of papers. What's all this? She asked, eyeing the documents. Contractor estimates, thinking about some home improvements. She tried the front door, found it wouldn't open with her key. David, what the hell? Security upgrade. You can never be too careful these days. This is my house too. Is it? I looked up from my coffee. Because lately, it feels more like a hotel you occasionally visit between appointments. Her face flushed. I work hard for this family. Family. I tasted the word like it was spoiled milk. When's the last time we had dinner together, Lynne? When's the last time we talked about anything besides your work? You're being ridiculous. Am I? Because I'm starting to think I haven't been ridiculous enough. She stared at me, trying to read my expression. I'd learned poker from my old army buddies, and they'd taught me well. Never let them see your cards until you're ready to play your hand. I'm going to work, she said finally. Don't forget your key. The new one's on the counter. After she left, I called Mick. He'd been my work partner for 15 years, ever since we'd both gotten out of the service. If you needed something built, fixed, or occasionally broken in a way that looked like an accident, Mick was your man. Dave, what's got you up so early? Need a favor, Mick. Remember that plumbing job at the Riverside condos? Brent Mallory's building? Yeah, what about it? Think we left some tools there. Might need to go back and collect them. Mick was quiet for a moment. He'd known me long enough to read between the lines. What kind of tools we talking about? The kind that make a lasting impression. I'll pick you up in an hour. Brent Mallory lived in Unit 4B, a flashy corner apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the river. His car, a red BMW convertible, sat in the parking garage like a shiny middle finger pointed at the world. Nice ride, Mick said, running his hand along the hood. Shame about the air conditioning. While Mick worked on the car's ventilation system with a dead fish and some industrial adhesive, I handled the interior. Nothing permanent, nothing criminal, just a small biological warfare package that would make his next few drives memorable. You sure about this, Dave? Mick asked as we packed up our tools. You ever been married, Mick? You know I haven't. Then trust me on this one. Some lessons need to be taught the hard way. That afternoon, I drove to Brennan's hardware store. Small town like Stratton, you couldn't avoid running into people. I was counting on it. Brent was in aisle 3, looking at screws. Ironic, considering what he'd been doing to my marriage. Brent Mallory, I said, walking up beside him. Fancy meeting you here? He turned, and I saw the exact moment he recognized me. His face went pale, then flushed red. David. Hi. Working on a project? Just some small repairs around the apartment. I picked up a box of 3-inch nails, hefted it in my hand. These are good. Strong. Drive them in right, they'll hold forever. I looked at him directly. Drive them in wrong, they'll split the wood. Ruin everything. He swallowed hard. Right. Of course, you'd know about that, being in construction finance and all. You understand the importance of a solid foundation. I should get going. Careful with those screws, Brent. I set the nails back on the shelf. They'll bite you if you're not paying attention. I left him standing there, sweating in the air conditioning. That evening, Lynne came home to find me cooking dinner. Real dinner. Pot roast with vegetables. The kind of meal I used to make when we were young and broke and happy. Smells good, she said, but her voice was cautious. Figured I'd make an effort. We should talk. She sat across from me at the table, picking at her food. About what? About us. About where we're going. I don't know what you mean. Sure you do. I cut my meat methodically. 23 years, Lynne. That's a long time to build something. Shame to see it all fall apart over some bad decisions. David, I'm not finished. My voice stayed level, conversational. See, I've been thinking about trust. About how it's like a foundation. Once it cracks, everything else starts to crumble. She set down her fork. What are you trying to say? I'm saying I think our foundation might have some problems, and I'm wondering if it's worth trying to fix, or if it's time to tear the whole thing down and start over. You're scaring me? Good. Fear keeps people honest. My phone buzzed with a text. I glanced at it and smiled. Mick, sending me a photo of Brent's BMW in the parking lot, surrounded by a crowd of laughing neighbors. Apparently the smell had been more effective than we'd hoped. Something funny? Lynne asked. Just work stuff, I said, echoing her words from the night before. You know how it is. The rusty anchor hadn't changed in 30 years. Same scarred bar, same neon beer signs, same smell of cigarettes and broken dreams. It was the kind of place where Stratton's working class came to forget their troubles and share their gossip. I'd been coming here since I was 21, but tonight I wasn't here for the beer. Sloan Winters sat in the corner booth with Janice Kowalski, Lynne's assistant. They were deep in conversation, heads bent together like conspirators. Which, as it turned out, they were. "Another round, ladies?" I asked, sliding into their booth uninvited. Sloan looked up, startled. She was Lynne's best friend and business partner, a blonde shark in designer clothes who'd never liked me. The feeling was mutual. "David," she said, recovering quickly. "What brings you here?" "Thought I'd try something new. Heard this was where all the interesting conversations happen." Janice, a mousy woman in her 50s, looked uncomfortable. She'd worked for Lynne's agency for 10 years, handling the paperwork and scheduling. Invisible to most people, which made her perfect for what I had in mind. "We were just leaving," Sloan said, starting to gather her purse. "Don't leave on my account. I'm curious about your friend's secret admirer." Both women froze. "I don't know what you mean," Sloan said, but her voice had lost its confidence. "Sure you do. You were just telling Janice about how Lynne's been seeing someone. Someone who appreciates her professional qualities." Janice's face went white. "I never said—" "Relax, Janice. We're all friends here." I signaled the bartender for another round. "Besides, I already know about Brent." The silence stretched between us like a tightrope. Finally, Sloan found her voice. "Lynne said you were getting paranoid." "Did she? What else did she say?" "That you've been acting strange. Controlling. She's worried about you." I laughed, a sound with no humor in it. "She's worried about me. That's rich. David, maybe you should—" "Maybe I should what, Sloan? Pretend I don't know my wife is screwing around? Pretend I haven't seen the receipts, the photos, the messages?" Janice made a small sound, almost a whimper. "Oh, did I mention the messages?" I pulled out my phone. See, the thing about modern technology is that everything leaves a trail. Every hotel room, every restaurant, every time she told me she was working late while she was actually working on her back. "You're sick," Sloan hissed. "No, I'm thorough." "There's a difference." I leaned forward. "But here's what I find interesting. You both knew. You've been covering for her, lying for her, helping her make a fool out of me. It's not our business. But it is your business, isn't it, Janice? Because you've been booking the hotel rooms, scheduling the fake appointments, making sure her calendar looked legitimate while she was off playing house with her boyfriend." Janice started crying. Quiet, desperate tears that told me everything I needed to know. "How much?" I asked her. "What? How much for the real story?" "The details Sloan here doesn't know about. The things you've seen, the calls you've taken, the lies you've had to tell." "David, stop this," Sloan warned. 500, I said to Janice. "Cash, for everything. She'll fire me." "She's going to fire you anyway. You think she trusts you to keep quiet forever? You think when this all comes out, she won't throw you under the bus to save herself?" Janice looked at Sloan, then back at me. I could see her weighing her options, calculating her chances. 1,000, she said quietly. "Deal." I left the anchor with a flash drive full of information and 2 former allies of my wife. Sloan had stormed out, but not before making it clear she was done covering for Lynne. Janice had been more practical, downloading files and copying documents in exchange for enough money to tide her over while she looked for a new job. The drive home took me past Brent's building. His BMW was still in the parking lot, but now it had a tow truck attached to it. Apparently, the smell had been so bad, the building management had declared it a health hazard. I pulled over and rolled down my window. Brent stood on the sidewalk in his underwear and a bathrobe, arguing with the tow truck driver while a small crowd watched and laughed. "Problem?" I called out. He turned, saw me, and his face went from red to purple. "You son of a bitch. Now that's no way to talk to a neighbor." I got out of my car, hands in my pockets. "What seems to be the trouble?" "You know damn well what the trouble is." "I'm afraid I don't." "But it looks like you're having some car problems." "Shame about that." Maybe you should have been more careful about where you parked. You did this. Did what? I've been at the Anchor all evening. Ask anyone. I looked around at the crowd. Beautiful night for a walk, though. Good thing you don't have far to go. The tow truck driver finished hooking up the BMW. Where you want this taken? The dump, someone in the crowd called out, earning a round of laughter. Brent's hands clenched into fists. For a moment, I thought he might actually try to hit me. I almost hoped he would. Go ahead, I said quietly, stepping closer. Give me a reason. He must have seen something in my eyes because he stepped back. This isn't over, he said. No, I agreed. It's not. But you might want to think real hard about your next move, because I'm just getting started. I drove home to find Lynne pacing in the living room, her phone pressed to her ear. She was talking to someone, her voice high and strained. I don't care what it costs, just fix it. No, he doesn't suspect anything. I said I'd handle it. She saw me and ended the call quickly. Where have you been? She demanded. Out, making new friends. David, we need to talk. Do we? Because I was under the impression that talking wasn't really your thing anymore. Please, can we try to work this out? I looked at her, really looked at her. She was scared. Good. Work what out, Lynne? I'm not sure I know what you're referring to. Don't play games with me. Games? I sat down in my chair, the one I'd bought when we first moved in together. I don't play games. Games are for children and cheaters. I never what? Never lied to me? Never betrayed our marriage? Never made me look like a fool in front of the whole town? She opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time in months, she had nothing to say. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to sleep in the guest room. You're going to think very carefully about the choices you've made. And tomorrow, we're going to have a real conversation about the future. And if I don't want to? I smiled, and she took a step back. Then I guess we'll find out just how much your reputation is worth to you. The next morning brought Mrs. Frobisher to my door with a plate of muffins and a head full of gossip. She was 83, lived alone in the house next door, and knew everyone's business better than they knew it themselves. David, dear, I hope you don't mind me asking, but is everything all right with Lynne? I invited her in for coffee, knowing she'd been waiting for this invitation for weeks. What makes you ask, Mrs. Frobisher? Well, it's just that I've noticed some irregularities. Cars coming and going at odd hours when you're at work. That red convertible, for instance. The BMW? Yes, that's the one. Flashy thing. Not very practical for Maine weather, if you ask me. I poured her coffee and settled in for what I knew would be a productive conversation. Mrs. Frobisher had been watching Lynne's comings and goings with the dedication of a private investigator. Better than that, actually. She had photos. I hope you don't think I'm being nosy, she said, pulling out her phone. But when I saw this man coming out of your house last Tuesday, the day you were working on the Morrison job, I thought perhaps he was a repairman. But then I realized he wasn't carrying any tools. The photo showed Brent leaving my house at 2 in the afternoon, adjusting his clothes and looking around nervously. And this one, she continued, swiping to the next image, was taken last Friday. I thought it was strange that Lynne would be entertaining guests when she told me she was going to Portland for a conference. This photo showed Lynne and Brent in an embrace on my front porch, her hands tangled in his hair. Mrs. Frobisher, I said carefully, would you be willing to share these photos with me? Oh dear, I hope I haven't caused any trouble. No trouble at all. In fact, you might have saved me quite a bit of it. After she left, I spent an hour going through the images she'd sent to my phone. 15 photos in total, spanning 3 months, a complete timeline of my wife's affair, documented with the thoroughness of a surveillance operation. At 10 a.m., my phone rang. Janice. David, I have that information you wanted. I'll be right there. We met at Dunkin' Donuts on Main Street, far enough from Lynne's office to avoid suspicion. Janice looked like she hadn't slept, her eyes red and puffy. I could lose everything, she said, sliding a manila envelope across the table. You already have. This just gives you a chance to get something back. The envelope contained copies of hotel receipts, restaurant bills, and travel expenses, all charged to the company credit card and disguised as business expenses. There were also printed emails between Lynne and Brent, scheduling their meetings and discussing their plans. There's something else, Janice said. About the Morrison account. What about it? Lynne's been skimming from the commission. Small amounts, but over time, it adds up to about $15,000. Where's the money going? Some of it to Brent. He's been having financial problems. His mortgage business isn't doing as well as he pretends. I studied the documents, seeing patterns I hadn't noticed before. How long has this been going on? The affair? About 6 months. The money? Maybe 3. Why are you telling me this? Janice looked out the window, watching the morning traffic. Because she treats me like furniture. 20 years I've worked for that company, and she acts like I'm invisible. And because... She paused, gathering courage. Because my husband left me for his secretary last year, and nobody helped me then. Nobody told me what was happening right under my nose. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Thank you. What are you going to do? What should have been done months ago? That afternoon, I drove to Lynne's office. The Stratton Realty Group occupied a converted Victorian on Elm Street, all glass and chrome inside despite the historical exterior. Lynne's office was on the 2nd floor, with windows overlooking the town square. She was on the phone when I walked in, but ended the call quickly when she saw my expression. David, what are you doing here? We need to talk. Now. I'm working. So am I. I closed the door behind me and turned the lock. Working on our marriage. Don't be dramatic. I pulled out my phone and set it on her desk. Mrs. Frobisher takes very nice photographs. Professional quality, really. Lynne's face went white as I scrolled through the images. This one's my favorite, I said, stopping at the porch embrace. Very artistic. The way the light catches your wedding ring while you're grabbing his ass. David, please. Please what? Please pretend this never happened? Please go back to being the stupid husband who doesn't ask questions. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. And it's exactly what everyone else is going to think when they see these. I opened the manila envelope and spread the contents across her desk. Hotel receipts, restaurant bills, emails, financial records. Janice is very thorough, I said. She kept copies of everything. Lynne sank into her chair, staring at the evidence of her betrayal. What do you want? I want you to understand that your life as you know it is over. You can't. I can and I will. Unless you want to try explaining to your boss why you've been using company funds to finance your affair, those were legitimate business expenses. Really? Because this receipt from the Riverside Inn shows you and Brent checking in at noon on a Tuesday when you were supposed to be showing the Patterson house. And this email shows you asking him to bring champagne to celebrate closing a deal that fell through 3 days earlier. She was crying now, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, just cold satisfaction. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to call Brent and tell him it's over. You're going to stop stealing from your company, and you're going to move out of my house. David, please, we can work this out. No, we can't. Because this isn't just about the affair, Lynne. It's about the lying, the stealing, the complete lack of respect for our marriage and our life together. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Every hotel room, every lie, every time you looked me in the eye and pretended to love me while you were planning your next rendezvous. Those were all choices. I gathered up the papers and photos, leaving her sitting alone in her office. You have until Friday to decide how you want this to end, I said from the doorway. Easy or hard, your choice. That evening, I went back to the Anchor. Word had gotten around about Brent's car trouble, and the story had grown in the telling. By now, he'd been found naked in the parking lot, screaming at imaginary demons while his car exploded in a shower of toxic waste. Buy you a drink, Dave? Mick asked, sliding onto the bar stool next to me. Sure, we're celebrating. What are we celebrating? The end of an era. Sloane walked in around 9, looking like she'd been crying. She saw me at the bar and hesitated, then walked over. "We need to talk," she said. "Do we?" "Lynne called me. She's not handling this well. That's not my problem anymore. She's talking about hurting herself." I turned to face her fully. "Is she? Or is she talking about making me think she might hurt herself so I'll back down?" Sloane's silence was answer enough. "Here's the thing about Lynne," I said. "She's never done anything in her life that wasn't calculated to get her what she wanted, including this conversation. You're wrong about her." "Am I?" "Then why are you here instead of her? Why isn't she fighting for her marriage instead of sending her friends to manipulate me?" "Because she's scared." "Good. She should be." I finished my drink and stood up. "Tell Lynne that if she wants to talk, she knows where to find me. But tell her to come alone next time. I'm done with intermediaries." As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This isn't over. You'll pay for what you did to my car." I smiled and typed back, looking forward to it. The game was just getting started. Friday came and went without a word from Lynne. She'd moved out Thursday night while I was at work, taking only her clothes and personal items. No note, no explanation, just empty drawers and hangers. I spent the weekend alone in the house, cleaning out 23 years of shared history. Photo albums went into boxes. Wedding gifts got packed away. I stripped our bedroom down to the basics and moved back in from the guest room. Monday morning brought a knock at my door. Officer Rusk stood on my porch, hat in hand, looking uncomfortable. "Morning, David. Mind if I come in?" "What's this about, Tom?" Tom Rusk had been a cop in Stratton for 15 years. We'd gone to high school together, played football on the same team. He was a good man trying to do a difficult job in a small town where everyone knew everyone's business. "Got a complaint filed against you. Harassment." "By who?" "Brent Mallory. Says you've been threatening him, vandalizing his property." I led him into the living room, offered him coffee. He declined. "Tom, you know me. Do I seem like the type to vandalize someone's car?" "No, you don't." But I had to follow up. "What's your side of this?" "My side is that my wife's been having an affair with Brent Mallory for 6 months, and now that it's come to light, he's trying to make me look like the bad guy." Tom sighed. "I figured it was something like that. Whole town's talking about it. What are they saying? That Lynne's been stepping out. That you found out and kicked her out. That Brent's car got vandalized, but nobody saw who did it." "And what do you think?" "I think a man's got a right to be angry when his wife cheats on him. I also think that anger can make people do stupid things. I haven't done anything illegal, Tom." "I believe you. But I need you to stay away from Brent Mallory. Don't go near his apartment, his work, anywhere he might be. Can you do that for me?" "Sure, no problem." After Tom left, I called Mick. "We need to have a conversation with Mr. Mallory," I said. "Thought the cop told you to stay away from him." "He told me not to go near his apartment or his work. He didn't say anything about the old fairground." The Stratton Fairground had been abandoned for 10 years, ever since the county fair moved to a bigger location outside town. It sat on 50 acres of overgrown grass and rusted rides, a monument to better times. It was also the perfect place for a private conversation. I sent Brent a text from a burner phone. "Meet me at the fairground tonight at 10 p.m. Come alone, or the photos go public tomorrow." He responded within minutes. "What photos?" "The ones Mrs. Frobisher took of you leaving my house. The ones showing you and Lynne together. The ones that will end your mortgage business if your clients see them." "You bastard." 10 p.m., don't be late." I got to the fairground at 9:30, parking behind the old ticket booth where my truck wouldn't be visible from the road. Mick was already there, having come in from the back entrance. "You sure about this, Dave?" "He filed a false police report against me. Time for a reality check." Brent's BMW, a replacement for the one that had been towed, pulled into the fairground at exactly 10 p.m. He got out slowly, looking around nervously. "I'm here," he called out. "Where are you?" I stepped out from behind the ticket booth, Mick flanking me from the left. "Hello, Brent. Thanks for coming. What do you want?" "I want you to understand something. I want you to understand what happens when you try to destroy a man's life." "I didn't destroy anything. Lynne and I..." "Lynne and you, what? Fell in love? Is that the story you're telling yourself?" He straightened up, trying to look confident. "We didn't plan for this to happen." "Bullshit. You planned every hotel room, every lie, every time you came to my house while I was at work. You planned to steal my wife and make me look like a fool. She's not happy with you. She hasn't been for years. Maybe not. But that gave her the right to leave, not the right to cheat. And it sure as hell didn't give you the right to help her steal from her company." His face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you do. $15,000 in diverted commissions. Money that went to pay for your hotels, your dinners, your little love nest. You can't prove that." "I don't have to prove it. I just have to suggest it. Small town like this, rumors have a way of becoming truth." I started walking toward him, and he backed up against his car. "What do you want?" he asked again. "I want you to leave town. Pack up your business, break your lease, and get the hell out of Stratton." "I can't do that. I have clients, obligations." "You have a choice. Leave voluntarily, or stay and watch me destroy everything you've built here." "You're threatening me." "No, I'm educating you. There's a difference." He tried to get back in his car, but I slammed the door shut before he could close it. "We're not done talking. Let me go, or I'll call the police." "Go ahead. Call them. Tell them how you've been screwing another man's wife and stealing money to pay for it. See how sympathetic they are." For a moment, we stared at each other in the darkness. Then something shifted in his expression. Desperation, maybe, or just stupidity. He swung at me. I'd been expecting it. 20 years in construction and 4 years in the Army had taught me how to handle myself. I caught his wrist, twisted it behind his back, and slammed him face first against the hood of his car. "That was a mistake," I said, applying pressure to his arm until he cried out, "You're breaking it." "Not yet." But I could. I held him there for a long moment, letting him feel how helpless he was. Then I released him and stepped back. He turned around, rubbing his arm, tears streaming down his face. "You're crazy." "No, I'm angry. And I'm tired of people thinking they can walk all over me without consequences." I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos Mrs. Frobisher had taken. "These go public tomorrow unless you're gone by the end of the week. Your choice." He looked at the images, his face crumbling. "Where am I supposed to go?" "Not my problem, but I'd suggest somewhere far away. Somewhere I'll never have to see your face again." He got in his car and drove away, leaving me standing in the abandoned fairground with Mick. "Think he'll leave?" Mick asked. "He'll leave. Men like Brent are cowards at heart. They only fight when they think they can win." "And Lynne?" "Lynne's a different story. She's not going to give up as easily." I was right. When I got home, she was waiting for me in the driveway. "We need to talk," she said. "I thought we'd said everything we needed to say." "David, please. I know I made mistakes, but we can work through this." "Can we?" "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you made choices. Deliberate, calculated choices to betray everything we built together." I was confused. I was lonely. You were always working, always busy with your projects. "So you decided to start a project of your own." She flinched. "That's not fair." "Fair? You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when you looked me in the eye and lied about working late? Was it fair when you used company money to finance your affair? Was it fair when you let me think I was losing my mind while you were screwing around behind my back? I never meant to hurt you. But you did. And now you want me to pretend it never happened so you can feel better about yourself. I want us to try to save our marriage. Our marriage ended the first time you took your clothes off for another man. Everything since then has just been cleanup." She started crying, But I felt nothing. No sympathy, no desire to comfort her. Just cold, empty satisfaction. "I'm filing for divorce," I said. "You can make it easy or hard, but it's happening either way." "David, go home, Lynne, wherever that is now." She drove away, and I went inside to pour myself a drink and plan my next move. The game was almost over, but I had one last card to play. Brent left town on Wednesday, just as I'd predicted. His apartment lease was broken, his office cleared out, his business dissolved overnight. Word spread quickly through Stratton's business community. Mortgage broker flees town amid rumors of financial impropriety and affair with married woman. Lynne tried calling me a dozen times that day. I didn't answer. Thursday brought a visit from her lawyer, a thin man in an expensive suit who clearly thought he could intimidate me. "Mr. Callahan, my client is prepared to be very reasonable in the divorce proceedings." How generous of her. She's willing to split all assets 50-50, including the house. The house she abandoned? The house she was using to conduct her affair while I was at work? My client made some poor choices, but that doesn't negate her legal rights. No, but it might affect how sympathetic a judge is to her situation. He shifted uncomfortably. "What do you want?" "I want her to understand that actions have consequences. I want her to realize that she can't destroy someone's life and then expect them to be reasonable about it." "Mr. Callahan, I should warn you that if you continue to harass my client—" "I haven't harassed anyone. I've simply made it clear that the truth has a way of coming out in small towns." He left without accomplishing anything, and I went back to work on my latest project, a custom kitchen cabinet for the Morrison family. It was good work, honest work, the kind of thing that would last for generations if properly maintained. Unlike marriages, apparently. Friday afternoon brought the call I'd been expecting. "David? It's Janice. I thought you should know. Lynne's been fired." "What happened?" "Mr. Patterson found out about the missing money. He's threatening to press charges unless she pays it back immediately." "Can she?" "Not without selling her car, her jewelry, everything she has. And even then, it might not be enough." I felt a moment of something that might have been sympathy. Then I remembered the photos, the lies, the complete betrayal of everything we'd built together. "Thanks for letting me know." "David, I'm sorry about all of this." "So am I, Janice. So am I." That evening, I drove to the Anchor for what I knew would be my last visit as a married man. The divorce papers were in my truck, signed and ready to be filed. Sloane was there, drinking alone at the bar. She looked up when I walked in, her eyes red and puffy. "Happy now?" she asked. "Not particularly." She's lost everything. Her job, her reputation, her marriage. Was that what you wanted? I wanted my wife to be faithful. I wanted to trust the woman I'd spent 23 years loving. What I got instead was a liar and a thief who thought I was too stupid to figure out what she was doing. She made mistakes. She made choices, and now she gets to live with the consequences. Sloane finished her drink and stood up. "You're a cold man, David Callahan." "No, I'm a man who got tired of being played for a fool." After she left, I sat alone at the bar, nursing a beer and thinking about the future. The house would be quiet without Lynne, but it would be honest. No more lies, no more wondering where she really was when she said she was working late. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I know what you did. Meet me at the town square at midnight, or I'll tell everyone how you really got rid of Brent." I smiled and typed back, "See you there." The town square was empty at midnight except for streetlights and shadows. I parked near the war memorial and waited. A figure emerged from behind the gazebo. Not Lynne, as I'd expected, but Kyle Mallory, Brent's brother, the mechanic who'd helped me understand just how deep the corruption went. "Kyle, this is a surprise." "Is it?" "You used me to destroy my brother." "I used the truth to expose what your brother was doing. There's a difference. He's ruined. His business is gone, his reputation destroyed. He had to move back in with our parents. He should have thought of that before he decided to help a married woman steal money from her employer." You don't understand. Brent was in love with her. Brent was in love with the idea of easy money and a woman who was willing to provide it, just like she was in love with the excitement of having a younger man tell her she was special. Kyle stepped closer, and I saw he was holding something in his hand. A wrench, probably from his garage. You destroyed 2 lives. I exposed 2 people who were destroying themselves and trying to destroy me in the process. Brent never meant to hurt you, but he did. Every time he came to my house, every time he took money that didn't belong to him, every time he helped Lynne lie to me, those were all choices. Kyle raised the wrench, but I was ready for him. I grabbed his wrist and twisted, just as I had with his brother. The wrench clattered to the ground. You want to know the real truth about your brother? I said, holding him against the memorial. He's a coward and a thief, and you're defending him because you're too weak to admit it. I released him and stepped back. Go home, Kyle. Take care of your brother. Help him find a new life somewhere else. But don't come after me for telling the truth. He picked up his wrench and walked away without another word. Saturday morning, I filed the divorce papers. By afternoon, they'd been served to Lynne at her temporary apartment across town. She called me that evening crying. David, please. Can't we try to work this out? There's nothing to work out, Lynne. You made your choice 6 months ago. Now you get to live with it. I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling. I'll pay back the money. You'll what? Promise never to cheat again? Promise never to lie again? Promise never to steal again? Why should I believe any promise you make now? Because I love you. No, you don't. You love the idea of not having to face the consequences of what you've done. You love the idea of going back to a life where someone else pays the bills while you do whatever you want. That's not true. Isn't it? When's the last time you asked how I was feeling? When's the last time you cared about anything in my life that didn't directly affect you? The silence stretched between us. I thought so, I said, and hung up. Sunday, I spent the day cleaning house, literally and figuratively. I packed away the last of Lynne's belongings, changed the locks one final time, and settled into my new life as a single man. Monday brought news that Lynne had been forced to declare bankruptcy. The money she'd stolen, combined with legal fees and the loss of her job, had wiped out her savings. She was moving back in with her sister in Portland, starting over at 38 with nothing but the clothes on her back. I felt no satisfaction in her downfall, but no regret either. She'd made her choices, and now she was living with them. Tuesday, I got a call from Tom Rusk. David, I wanted to let you know. Brent Mallory withdrew his complaint against you. Did he say why? Said he'd been mistaken about what happened. Said maybe his car problems were just bad luck after all. Imagine that. Yeah, imagine that. Wednesday, I started dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee with a woman I'd met at the hardware store. She was divorced too. Understood what it was like to start over after a marriage fell apart. Thursday, Lynne called one last time. David, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I know you are. Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive me? I thought about it for a long moment. Maybe someday, but not today. I understand. Lynne? Yes? For what it's worth, I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope you learn to be honest with yourself and whoever comes next. Thank you. After she hung up, I sat in my workshop, surrounded by the tools and projects that had always brought me peace. The house was quiet, but it was an honest quiet. No more lies, no more betrayal, no more wondering what was really going on in my own life. I picked up a piece of oak and began to sand it, preparing it for whatever it would become. Like me, it had potential. Like me, it just needed someone who knew how to bring out its best qualities. Outside, the sun was setting over Stratton, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. It was beautiful, and for the first time in months, I was able to appreciate it without wondering what my wife was really doing while I watched it alone. The last nail had been driven. The coffin was sealed. My old life was buried, and my new one was just beginning. The end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching,